Hi everyone, Sandman here. Today's video is brought to you by a donation from Black Reaver 7, and here's what he has to say. What's up, Sandman? I recently made a donation to help your cause. And I know it's not much, but I hope it helps. I want to ask you if you can cover the topic of Asian women. Is it just me, or do they seem to be more hypergamous than other women from different races? In the case of racial hypergamy, it would make more sense for them to pursue Chinese American men and Indian men, seeing as how they're currently working in more higher paid jobs. But they still seem to stick to exclusively Caucasian men, from my observations. And I have yet to see an Asian female date an attractive white male in any sense. They always seem to settle down with Caucasians at the bottom of the scale in terms of looks. And even more strange here in the United States is that all the white men that I've seen dating Asian women are almost as poor as black and Latino men around me. So great and wise MGTOW guru Sandman, please clarify this for level 2 MGTOWs such as myself, and cheers. Well, Black Reaper 7, the reason that Asian women like Caucasian men has to do with many different reasons. The first and most important reason, I believe, is social status. If they marry and have children with such a man, then her children are more likely to be accepted by the white community, and she, the Asian woman, is also accepted because of those kids. Asian women are also practicing a form of positive eugenics. They are in a sense reproducing with men that they see as having positive genetic traits. In this case, they see Caucasian men as positive, and probably believe that they have higher social status. After all, it was predominantly white Europeans that civilized or brutally conquered the world, depending on your point of view. Everyone in Western society criticizes Caucasian males, but in this case, Asian women appear to idealize Caucasian men at the same time. And I know it's a really weird situation. As I was saying a little bit earlier, Asian women gain higher status from marrying and having kids with such men, and this opens up new social circles and opportunities for both herself as well as her kids. Other cultures do the same thing with white men. Those include Latin and to a certain lesser extent, black women as well. And the best examples of this type of status based on complexion can be seen in places such as Brazil and other South American countries, where people often appear to have more social value based on the pigment of their skin rather than the character of their person. Most Caucasian men that have children with women from other races don't usually worry about the lineage of their kids. And they shouldn't, because their mixed children will still have access to meeting and mating with people of lighter complexions. And they are far more likely to be more socially accepted by greater numbers of people. Women in general, and Asian women specifically, value social status very highly. And Black Reaper 7, when you see Asian women with poor, unattractive white men, their first priority is to get the man that can give them children that will increase that social status yet again. But what if you're an attractive and successful white man? What about your available pool of Asian women in that particular case? I know a few tall, successful white males that ended up marrying beautiful and wealthy Asian women. One guy has a successful business as a military contractor, and the other guy is an underwater diver for oil drilling companies. Both have engineering and military background, and have great salaries and are often well built physically. They're tall and run for fun every single day. And both of them married Asian women that both have successful careers, come from wealthy families, and are absolutely stunning to look at, and are tall and thin as well. But if they had decided to pair off with Caucasian women with similar qualities as their Asian wives, these women would be far more demanding than their current wives. And their relationships with these Asian brides are far from perfect, but they're still together after a few decades because they're constantly improving the lifestyle of their family. Their wives enjoy greater material wealth from year to year, so the marriages are relatively stable. But I often wonder what would happen if business was bad for a few years. Humans experience negative emotions 3 times more intensely than the positive ones. So if you lived your life experiencing amazing positive experiences, then the downside is that if you feel anything even slightly negative, your mind may overreact. But anyways, I think status is one of the main primary motivators behind Asian women dating and marrying white men. But God forbid you should tell an Asian woman that that's why she's doing it. Women project virtue onto themselves, and if you as a man figure out their secrets, they don't often like it. I thought they didn't like men knowing their secrets because it has a lot to do with losing the ability to manipulate men, and that they also wanted to keep the manipulations a trade secret. But someone leaving a comment on yesterday's video, named Laszlo Underhill, had something else to say about why women don't want men to know about their secrets, and here's what he had to say. Deception and manipulation in women is not a conscious process in most cases. It's second nature, or maybe first nature. In either case, it's not like women care if men know their secrets. Women fear, above all else, confronting and understanding their own deceptive and manipulative nature. When a woman is pressured, compelled, or forced to acknowledge her own self-serving and predatory parasitic nature, she will lash out like a cornered animal, every single time. Shining the light of day on gynocentrism is in fact an existential threat to women, and to anyone, I'm looking at you tradcons, who has defined his or her identity on the false premise that women are inherently good and morally superior to men. Gynocentrism in one word. So if the reaction to MGTOW seems excessively negative, it's really not excessive at all, because it's the manifestation of an impending existential crisis for women. Well, Laszlo, thanks for your great comments. And they shed the most light on female nature that I've come across in a long time, so I thought I'd like to share them with everyone. And this comment also relates to Asian women marrying white men, because I believe that most Asian women aren't consciously aware that they're trying to increase the status of both themselves and their future kids. And if we make them aware of this idea, then it might actually lead them down the path of an existential crisis. But I don't think there's anything wrong with MGTOW creating an existential crisis for women. Feminism, after all, has created an existential crisis for men. And it's only fair that we return the favor to women. Feminism has made it unsafe and unpopular to be a man that wants a relationship and a family. And I think it's time that we return that favor yet again. I think every time a woman looks in the mirror, she should see her true nature, whatever that may be, instead of sugarcoating it. Men have been conditioned to see monsters staring back at them from beyond the mirror, yet women have been conditioned to see divas and goddesses, and that has to change. But getting back to the topic of biracial children between Asian women and Caucasian men, I think mixed children between such couples have many advantages over kids that are just one or the other. Two of the most popular MGTOW videos on my YouTube channel are called Women React to MGTOW and Why Women Hate MGTOW, and they have mixed white Asian women as the main thumbnail that I've used on these particular videos. Is this just simply a coincidence, or does it have more to do with the fact that certain combinations or mixes of certain races trigger certain emotions in people? Another good example are some of the biggest action movie stars in history that were of mixed European as well as Asian descent. Bruce Lee was Chinese, but he also had German roots as well. And Steven Seagal has a partially Mongolian ancestry, but up until today I only saw Steven Seagal on the screen, and his ancestry didn't become clear until the moment I learned about it. I also didn't know that Keanu Reeves is part Chinese, and now I can see that in his facial characteristics once I learned about his background today. But up until that point, I had no idea where any of these guys came from. I believe that popular celebrities with lighter skin appeal to broader audiences of people from many different parts of the world. People from many different backgrounds can project their own genetic heritage directly onto them. John the Other talks about women as social chameleons. So doesn't it make sense for women to also want their children to also share these chameleon qualities with them? And mixed-race children have potentially more chameleon qualities than children with a defined genetic background. And that half-Asian girl that I mentioned that's on two of my highest view videos is used in many stock photo campaigns from bigstock.com, and she's used everywhere. I see pictures of her at Walmart, at Tiger Direct, as well as Best Buy. Don't you think that big firms like that have used focus groups to see which types of faces are the most popular for their shoppers? Or at the very least put them at the most ease? Another girl of mixed heritage is Jessica Alba, and she can come across as either Latin or Caucasian in many of the film roles that she stars in. She becomes whatever background the audience projects onto her. Children, and more specifically male children and sons, are potential resources in the future for mothers, and offer them a greater chance of the good life in the future. So by making their offspring more appealing to a broad range of mates, Asian women are also in a way looking out for their own future interests. Some Caucasian men have figured this out consciously. People like Jim Rogers, who's a professional investor, and I follow him regularly, has done this. He often says that the future of the world is in Asian countries, and found a young wife in Asia and lives in Singapore with her and has two mixed daughters. He's teaching both of his daughters both Mandarin and English, and he's fusing two cultures into his kids, and when he passes down his wealth someday, then the hypergamy will probably kick in, and his multimillionaire daughters will marry even wealthier men, thus ensuring his genes will get into a higher social circle, well beyond his death, because his female children will probably marry up. Black Reaper 7, you also ask why poor Asian women will often settle for poor Asian men. And the answer should be obvious by now. Because the Asian woman, if she's poor, might actually still see the poor Caucasian man, but she might also see, consciously or subconsciously, that having kids with him, and thus sharing their genes together, might open up new social circles and opportunities for her kids. And that's just the way that I see it. I know many Eastern European men that have married women from the Philippines, and these women get accepted into their communities and usually find better jobs, and their social status rises over women that married men from their own Asian backgrounds. Hopefully that clears things up for you. Anyways, that's all I've got to say for today. Thank you Black Reaper 7 for your donation, as well as questions. And as for everyone else, like me on Facebook or follow me on Twitter to get tomorrow's video today. Thanks for taking your daily dose of red pills. And remember, a red pill a day keeps the divorce lawyers away. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.